Hello everyone, Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, and today I'm here to tell you the harrowing story of my second incursion into Castrum Lacus Litore. So there I was live streaming some Bozjan Southern Front action over on twitch.tv/Rurikhan. Should go ahead and follow me there if you haven't already. Because, you know, I wanted to raise my resistance rank. I'm still rank 14. I believe the cap is rank 15. And, you know, if the number can go higher, I want to make it go higher, despite the fact that I don't think you really have to, because you can do pretty much everything that's available in its own at resistance rank 10. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not exactly sure what the benefit even is to getting resistance rank 15, but it's like if the number can go higher, I want to make it go higher. But anyway, there I was, and I was actually getting ready to wrap up my live stream, because it was 8 p.m. my time. It was, you know, it's like dinner time. You want to go have some dinner. So I was like about ready to wrap it up. And just before I started, you know, telling chat, hey guys, this is going to be it, etc., 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 in pops the notification indicating Castrum Lacus Litore is accessible. Now, the first time that I went into Castrum Lacus Litore, nobody really had any idea what the hell they were doing there, so we just jumped in, attacked the boss. Everybody died because naturally we did not know that you needed to have a party upstairs, and then we had to leave because usually if you fail that first boss, depending on how long it takes you to fail that first boss, you might not have enough time for a second attempt. So, you know, went in there, died, lost a bunch of metal, and then left the very first time. Second time, however, which was the time that we were talking about, went in there, and the people in there, they kind of knew what was up. So they were like trying to organize groups from not saying, okay, you guys stay down here, you guys go up there, etc., etc. Since then, I've done a couple of more runs, and I haven't really finished any more runs. This is the only run that I actually finished. But it was interesting, you know, people going like, okay, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna go down, let's put some healers here, some tanks there, etc., etc., etc. I stayed downstairs tanking the boss and watching like the little battering ram thing with the drills going on and just like trying to break through. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed my time with this raid. I thought it was really cool. It was not something that I initially expected to even succeed, which is why I was like, you know, whatever, we'll go in there. I'll probably wipe again to the first boss, but I'll get a better idea of how that boss works, so that next time I go through it, I'll have a better chance of actually progressing. But this time, because the organization, we were actually doing well. So it was kind of cool to see that this is a raid encounter. You got like the two tiers. You have the people downstairs, you have the people upstairs, and you kind of have to kill the boss at around the same time. And then there's all these mechanics where you also have to protect the battering ram drill thing that is trying to burst through the gates. It's for starters, visually speaking, it's a spectacular fight, because like you can kind of see people fighting on the upper section. The people on the upper section can kind of look down and see the people fighting on the lower section. And, you know, and your groups are separated, but you're all kind of like still working for the same goal. And I know this almost sounds like it's the first time that I've done like a more complex raid, but no, I've done stuff like this in the past. It's just, it's been a while for me since I've done one that I was like, oh wow, this is actually a ton of fun. I really enjoyed just like the whole experience, right? So we're going through, we're, you know, slowly progressing through the fight. Everything's going all right. Everybody's doing okay. And eventually we get the boss. Actually, I think that the top people got the boss down first. And I was like, oh crap, we're gonna wipe because ours is not dead yet. And everybody's just like running around trying to get as much DPS as possible. A bunch of people were dying. There was a point where we had no healer in my party. And I was just like, I'll cast Clemency. I'll keep us alive. I was trying to be the healer of the party because I don't have raise. As a matter of fact, the actions that I have in the footage that you guys are watching, one of the actions, it's kind of like useless for the raid. I wasn't really expecting to join the raid, which is I have Lost Paralyze equipped this whole time. It'd be much better to have Lost Protect or even one of the Lost AoE heals. There are much better actions to have than Lost Paralyze, so go ahead, criticize me all you want. But, you know, we're going through, and eventually we do manage to bring the boss down, and I just see the thing go through, the battering ram thing burst through the gate and move on forward, and I was like, oh, hells yeah, dude. This is sweet, because it was the first time that I was seeing the rest of the content. So we go in there, we go into a room, and just like a bunch of mobs start swarming, and I was like, okay, so this is just like the trash section, but you have to start organizing yourself in that room, and I was like, what are we doing? Because like there's 4 different sections. You have to send 4 different parties to 4 different places to act out everything simultaneously. And again, I think that the design of that is very interesting. Now, that does mean that most likely a lot of people will fail on their first attempts because they're like, what the hell's going on? What is even this? But like people are getting more experience. I believe that Mr. Happy even has like a guide at this point, and you guys should definitely look into that because I'm not going to be doing guides for this. I'm just like enjoying the content, but basically the purpose of the second phase is for you to go in there and like you split up the groups and you try to rescue as many of the hostages as possible. And they have like hostages spawning in random locations, and also you have these special buttons that show up that you have to, you know, keep someone there to press the button so that, you know, once you press all of the buttons, it kind of unlocks everything, and you can progress forward to the next boss. But it was really cool. I was the one that said, okay, I'll stay behind and I'll keep the button pressed and you guys can like go, because our party had 2 tanks and you don't really need 2 tanks to, you know, to do the rest of the content. So it'd be better if actually we had 3 tanks in this party. So it'd be better if others go on ahead and try to save the rest of the hostages. And it was kind of cool because like I stayed back there, and then people were saying like, "Oh, we'll never forget your sacrifice." I was like, "Go, go, go!" It's like this action scene movie. I'm like, "Leave me behind, you guys go!" But no, it's nothing like that at all. You just hold that the teleporter, not teleporter. You hold that platform for a little while, and then after they rescue the rest of the hostages and everybody presses a button, everything opens up and you get to move forward. So I was like, "Oh wow, we actually made it through the second phase of the raid. That's pretty cool. I wonder if we'll actually go all the way, right?" And then on we go to the next boss fight, and good God, did I wipe quite a bit in that boss fight. Because I was trying to get the mechanics. The third time that I went in there, I understood it much better, because it was like, oh, if it's fire, you can't move. If it's ice, you have to move. If it's lightning, you have to move away. If it's water, it's going to knock you back. And there's a bunch of stuff like that you got to know. But that second boss was also quite cool. It's once you start getting the mechanics of it, it's also a very satisfying boss. Not as cool as the first boss, because the whole raid is just there and just kind of just bring him down, deal damage, bring him down, whatever. But it's still cool mechanics. It still gets people moving, and it's still fun to see, because it's just this big the way that you form into a raid group to go into Castrum Lacus Litore is just like, hey, we have a bunch of people that are above level 10. We're gonna put you all in here, and you guys just sort it out. And you can have up to 48 people in there, and nobody's really like organized in any way. Like I've heard from another content creator, I think it was Ilya, who said that he set up a bunch of parties on Discord and stuff, and they all queued at the same time for Bozja to end up in the same instance. And then once they finally got there, they all went into Castrum at the same time. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of setup for a Castrum run. Me, I just jumped in there and I'm like, let's see what happens, like, what's the worst that can happen? We all wipe and we all leave? I mean, it's whatever. I already had that happen once, who cares? But yeah, we went through that second boss, and that was also not too hard. Like I said, it's just the mechanics are a little bit more complex the first time that you actually do them, but it is also a very fun fight, which also reminds me, I need to put a button for sheathing my weapon. That would be very useful, particularly for the fire phase, because if you do anything, even if you just auto-attack the boss during pyrokinetic or whatever the debuff is called, that's like 80% of your health. So yeah, I really need to actually bind sheathing my weapon, which I did have it bound a while back, but then I unbound it because it didn't seem like I was using it for much. But yeah, that was a cool encounter as well. And then finally we went onwards to the last boss. And yeah, about that last boss, I've hugged the floor harder than any Dragoon ever did, okay? I know that a lot of people like to say that Dragoons are the floor tanks, but no, for that boss, I was the floor tank. I mean, I died a couple of times to the point where I think the healers just kind of like gave up on me. No, but there's some mechanics in there where like there's this bird that jumps all over the place, and then if he jumps on one location and there's a symbol on top of a marker, he's gonna like do a cross type attack, and if he jumps on a different location, and the symbol is a donut, then he's going to do a donut type attack. And, you know, I saw where he was going. And I remember that at the start of the fight, somebody said, whenever the bird jumps, run after him. And I was like, all right. So he would jump onto a cross, and I would run after him, and I would die. But that boss was more interesting than the second one, because there's actually a phase at which one of the parties needs to go upstairs to a different location to fight another like boss simultaneously. And I don't know, you guys can tell that I really like those when there's mechanics that kind of like split up your group and you guys got to kind of like sync up and stuff like that. I personally really like those mechanics. I think they're really fun, and I think they make for a much more interesting raid than just like, hey, let's everybody gather together around the boss and zerg him down in 2 seconds and boom, Bob's your uncle. Like, I like those more complex mechanics. They're kind of cool, because despite the fact that I wiped a lot, because again, it was the second time that I came to Castrum, and it was the first time that I made it past the first boss, I was surprised that we even got it clear. But like I said, there were more experienced people in the group, and I completely got carried in the final boss. Like, I feel like I carried my weight in the first couple of bosses, but that final boss, I totally got carried, and I have no qualms about that, because it's the first time you're doing something. But another mechanic that boss had was like these feathers that would move, and then you would have to stand on top of the blue feather, but the blue feather would get pushed and stuff like that. So it also had very interesting mechanics on that boss itself, but also the fact that people were fighting another boss upstairs was another thing that I found extremely compelling. So all in all, I have to say, like, I really enjoyed the Bozjan Southern Front. Like I had already told people, it's a bit refreshing from the usual Final Fantasy XIV experience, where it's more like about, oh, get this quest, and then here's this cutscene, and then, you know, go kill something and then come back, or go pick up something and then come back, and here's another cutscene and story exposition, etc., etc. Like, I love that. Like I said, I like the story, but it's nice to have this other area where you can kind of like do different stuff and play in a different way. And experiencing this particular raid I thought was very satisfying. Now, people have said that this raid is somewhat similar to the Baldician Arsenal in Eureka, and it kind of makes me sad that I missed out on that, because it's an experience that is particularly fun to do while the content is fresh. Because, you know, after the content is no longer fresh, and this is just something that tends to happen with most video games, after the content, with most MMOs, I mean, and raids and stuff like that, after the content's no longer fresh, it's like everybody expects everybody else to know the exact strategy to the letter, to know exactly what they're going to do, despite the fact that they never fought the boss. And everybody just gets these unreasonable expectations of like, what do you mean you don't know this mechanic? Have you never done this? It's like, no. Didn't you watch a video on it? It's like, well, yes, but it doesn't really help that much. So it's like, I don't like that kind of like unreasonable expectation, which is why I really like doing the content when it's still fresh, when everybody is a little bit more understanding. And it's fun to kind of like discover different strategies and, you know, different things that you can kind of do in these encounters. And yeah, I guess I kind of wish I had also experienced that with the Baldician Arsenal, because it's kind of a chaotic way to form a raid, right? It's just like, oh, we're just gonna pull a bunch of people together and like, you guys friggin' sort it out. And I'm surprised that we actually made it through, but ultimately it was a lot of fun. And the story elements, which I'm not going to be touching on, because, you know, there's a lot of people that probably still haven't done it, because not everybody has the same time that I do to just grind your friggin' life away to resistance rank 14. But yeah, it was a really good time. I really enjoyed it, and it really solidified Bozjan Southern Front as just a really fun activity for me in Final Fantasy XIV. Now all I got to do is get that final bitter memory, whatever thing, to drop, so that I can go ahead and make my weapon glow and be shiny and stuff. And I know that I can go get it off of like dungeons and whatnot, but I've decided that I'm gonna just grind everything out on Bozja, because I also still haven't reached maximum resistance rank, and I want to do more Castrum runs to get a couple of more armor pieces. I was able to actually get my chest piece yesterday, which was like I told you guys, I was excited about getting that particular piece of the Bozjan armor, because I think it looks good. It looks like it's got some wear and tear on it. And at the same time, people are saying it's got stats that specifically benefit you. It's got like haste, and that benefits you inside Bozja, because all of your stuff gets like, it gets rounded down or whatever, it gets synced down to item level 430. So, you know, But all in all, really fun time, and I would highly recommend if you ever get a chance, you know, if you have enough time to go and grind stuff in Bozjan and whatnot, and if you get a chance to jump into Castrum Lacus Litore, jump in there. It's like, don't be shy about wiping or whatever. Just try your best and, you know, communicate to people if it's your first time. It's like, hey, it's my first time. Don't know what I'm doing. Because I know that some people do tend to get like shy about this kind of stuff and be like, oh, but I don't want to mess it up and whatnot. It's like, don't worry about it. Just jump in there and have some fun. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy the dislike button, feedback is important. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.